Can you use the sonic holography with the speaker, or would that just be too much control?
The speaker itself will not have sonic holography built in.
No, I mean, like if you engage it.
Oh, that would be great. No, they'll be designed to go with sonic holography.
Okay.
Sonic holography will make it even bigger.
Why a 9-foot tall speaker, when you're sitting in your favorite chair, you're less than 48 inches off the floor?
I'm sorry, say the question.
Why? Why a 9-foot speaker floor to ceiling when you're sitting in your favorite spot and your ears are only 48 inches off the floor?
That's a very, very, very good question. And it turns out that the answer is sort of almost silly.
Bigger's better?
I hope. Well,
it's a great question. It really is. No. And the answer is this. You will locate the image that it produces by the very earliest arrival that the speaker sends to your ears. And the earliest arrival will be this part of the speaker that's closest to you, which is the part that's straight ahead. The stuff that's coming from down there or up there and down there will arrive later. You will locate the images right at your ear level.
Right.
That's not good, because I like my images to be up a little bit as if they're on a stage. It feels better, it's more realistic. So there has to be some trickery built into it to make the image go up higher. If you're going to have a pristine wave launch of a speaker, it either has to be a very small tweeter, like a little tiny dome one, or it has to be a line source. And a line source to really work like a perfect line source has to be infinitely long, or at least from floor to ceiling. That's just that, and that's the way it is.
If you're sitting there listening to somebody playing a guitar, he certainly isn't on the ceiling.
That's right.
He's certainly not on the floor.
You will hear him as if he's right in front of you.
Really?
Yeah. Even though it's a floor-to-ceiling speaker, you will always locate him right in front of you. And if he's a mono source, he'll be a tight little ball of sound right between these two speakers that are like poles. And the poles will disappear. They set up right, they'll disappear.
Pre-orders.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
I have a couple of 5-foot ribbons at home, and I noticed that they're raw component. Now, as I have them plugged into something and music's actually playing through them, as I move down it, I only hear from right there.
As you move
okay,
down,
right in front of me. As I move up and down the driver, I only hear what part of the ribbon right where my ear is.
Yeah.
I don't hear any of the rest.
You're talking like doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I only hear what's right in front of me. I don't hear the rest.
Right.
It's gone.
That's right.
That's
right.
Do we need to have a ribbon that goes clear to the ceiling?
Yes, we do. Because you really do hear it, but you're not aware of that you're hearing it. What you're hearing consciously is the stuff you're talking about right now. What you're hearing unconsciously that helps develop the sense of reality is the subliminal stuff. Obviously, the sound's coming from here, and it's getting to your ear, so you're hearing it.
Yeah.
It's just your ear-brain system operates on it differently from that stuff that's coming in right away. And it gives you a sense of acoustic space. It helps build that big space bubble that I talked about.
Wouldn't you essentially achieve that same thing by stacking several of your low ribbons? You know, from floor to ceiling all the way up?
That's right, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm going to do.
It's essentially what the design is. That's essentially what the design is stacking.
Stacking, yeah.
Making a long source.
Why the use of aluminum in the ribbons instead of any other metal?
Because it's lightweight and the sensitivity of the ribbon.
So something
The
like
efficiency,
gold or
it's not
copper
really
or
efficient.
silver would be stiffer and not respond
It'd be too
as
heavy.
fast?
It'd be too heavy. If you want to have a car that accelerates quickly, good transient response, you can have a heavy car with a giant engine in it. Or you can have a lightweight car with a small engine, smaller. And that's, the amplifiers can't be 10 million watts, 500 watts. So that has to be out just to give it the good transient energy.
So it's
How
quick
are you trying to deal with the fact that not everybody's ceiling is being like the same height?
You know, I don't know, that's a detail.
Don't know that when you go to buy it.
There may be 2 or 3 different models.
Some silver.
Well, if you make it this market
I
to begin
think
with.
ceilings are 7 feet tall, aren't they, standard ceilings?
7
Yeah.
feet.
8 feet.
Even 8
feet runs very little.
Yeah, so.
So
I
far,
thought
it's
make
looking
it
about
7.5
90 inches.
7.5 feet, give it an inch or two at the top. And if somebody had a ceiling that it wouldn't fit, tough.
Buy another
There you
house.
go.
Yeah, they'd have to go house shopping.
Does it really have to be any taller than the speaker that's behind you?
Doesn't have to be, but it's
You
just
just
so cool.
want it to be?
It's just so cool to have it that way. Actually, remember this. Remember, all the time, there'll be many time arrivals. There'll be when you're sitting in front of the speaker. Matt, just do a little thought experiment here. We're sitting in front of the speaker. That's a pole from ceiling to floor. You'll hear the sound first from the speaker that's closest to you. Then the next one will be here. The next one will be down here, here, and here. And eventually, all those sounds will come up to your ears, the same up. And you won't hear them consciously, but all of those multiple arrivals are adding to the sense of acoustic space. Believable acoustic space, and it makes it more fun to listen to.
And actually, I think it's also true that when it goes pretty close to ceiling and floor, it actually becomes infinite because it bounces off the ceiling and floor, and it's all desirable characteristic of it.
It does. It becomes and the reason for that is imagine that your floor is made out of wood. It's made out of a mirror like in your bathroom. Same with the ceiling. So now, if you put that floor-to-ceiling speaker and you look at the floor, you see its reflection, and it doesn't stop at the floor, does it? It goes on into the floor. And if you peek over the edge, it'll look like it goes on forever. It's really long. And that image, the image speaker makes sound that's just as real, just as loud, and just as audible as the actual speaker. It's called the image. And it makes a sound. And as a matter of fact, if you put the speaker on the floor and you look at the image, if you're at floor or a mirror, and it behaves as if it were, you have another speaker. It's free sound. It's 6 dB louder.
Now, if you have a vaulted ceiling, you're in trouble now.
Yeah.
If you have a slanted ceiling, you're going to have a
Yeah.
problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Up until now, it's sort of been desirable to have.
That's right. That's right. It's not quite 6 dB louder, but it's between 3 and 6 depending on the coupling, and the coupling is less as the image gets farther away. But it's and so you can see right away that this floor-to-ceiling speaker is not floor-to-ceiling. It's whoa all the way down to the center of the earth. I have lots of mirrors. I have to think about that. I'm not sure how many reflections count, but I know it's longer than floor-to-ceiling. And it adds multiple sound arrivals. Multiple sound arrivals are interpreted by our brain to be space and to be reality. Yes, sir.
Now, is
I'm sure
the
glad I
ribbon you're
complimented
playing?
cooking.
Pardon?
I'm sure glad I gave a tip of my hat to your cooking. You're asking some
Amen.
great questions.
One of the things I'm not understanding is the earlier ribbons said we're not to suffer from Haas effect reflections, but the Sunfire ribbon does.
That's why to make it floor to ceiling, because then there aren't any reflections. Think about this. It's weird. It's counterintuitive. But if the ribbon goes all the way to the floor, and if there's a mirror on the floor,
Yeah.
there's space. You have another room too, so you have more space, less chances of a reflection. But it's as if the ribbon is suspended in space because there's another room below you, as well as another speaker. And so a floor-to-ceiling speaker has fewer reflections because of that fact than a real speaker that would be only this far off the floor. If the speaker is this far off of the floor, it makes a sound that bounces off the floor. And that is a reflection, and that's bad. Reflections are more or less bad. At least if they're short-term ones. If they're long-term ones, way outside of the interaural time delay, which is from here to here, a few milliseconds, then it sounds good. It sounds, you listen to the venue, it sounds nice. It's like an echo box or something.
So the floor-to-ceiling ribbon does not have those reflections.
That's a good point I forgot to mention. That's one of the advantages of doing it. The reflections go away. There are other ways to make
See, that's what they said about the other one. that it didn't have a house effect. You weren't getting anything from the floor or the ceiling.
Which one, who's they, what are you talking about?
One of the magazine articles said it suffered no house effect reflections.